Hi, today we're going to talk about how we can use information from a sample of a population to gather data or predict data about the actual population. So, for example, let's say that we wanted to know how many people in our school, how many students in our school eat school lunch. Well, it might not be realistic to ask every single person in the school if they do or do not eat school lunch on a regular basis. So instead, we could collect a random sample. That's important. It must be a random sample. So we randomly ask certain people in the school if they do or do not eat school lunch, and then we are able to make a prediction about it. So let's say that there are 500 people total in our school. So that means our population is 500. Let's say we took a sample. That means we just asked a few people. And we took a sample of, how about 30 people? And we found out that 22 of them do eat school lunch. Now you can kind of see as I've been talking, I've been setting up a proportion. That's how we're going to make a prediction. So our population, our total population is here. The total of our sample is here. And then the total number of people in our sample who said, yes, I eat school lunch, which means when I solve this proportion, right here is going to be our prediction of how many people in the school eat school lunch. Now, it is just a prediction. It could be correct, but more likely it's an estimate. That means approximately this many people do eat school lunch. Now, I'm just going to solve this proportion. A couple ways to solve it. You could cross multiply. You could solve like an equation and just multiply both sides by 500. I particularly like the fish method, where you multiply and then divide, and that gives you your answer. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to multiply 500 times 22 divided by 30, and that gives me 366.6 repeating, but I cannot have a part of a person, so I'm going to round that up to a whole person. So 367 people. So our prediction is that 367 people in our school eat school lunch. So let's go ahead and use another example. Let's say we want to know, we're curious, how many people in our state work during the daytime, right? So some people work like early morning, during the day, evening, night, those different types of things. So we're curious, how many people in our whole state work during the daytime? It would for sure be ridiculous to try and ask every single person in the state if they work during the daytime or not. So we would take a sample. That means we would just ask some people. Now, if I only ask like 30 people, like I did in the last example, that's not going to be a good prediction of how many people in this state work during the daytime. So I need to take a much bigger sample, but let's say my sample is, we're going to go with 50,000 people. That's my sample. Okay, let's be honest, that's ginormous. That's such a big sample. But let's say we asked that many people, and let's say we ended up with 27,700 people who said, yeah, I do. I work during the daytime. Obviously, that's kind of a difficult question to ask, just to mean what constitutes daytime or nighttime, but there you go. Then I'm just going to look up right now. We need to know the population of the state. Woo, hefty population. Okay, so it looks like 3,206,000 people is our population. So the reason we took such a big sample, yes, 50,000 is like a ton of people to ask, but we really do need a big sample if 3 million is our population. So we have our total population. We have the total amount of people we asked in our sample, and it was a random sample. We have the total number of people who said, yes, I work during the daytime, which means that the answer we get is going to tell us approximately, or our prediction of how many people in the state work during the daytime. So I'm just going to use my fish method. I multiply diagonally across, then I divide to get my answer. So 3,206,000 times 27,700 divided by 50,000 equals 1,776,124. So our prediction is that many people work during the daytime. Now, we could actually solve something else with this now. If we predict this many people work during the daytime, then let's just split our shifts into day or night. We could say if this many people work at day, then we could predict how many people work at night by just subtracting the total population minus the people who work during the daytime. So there you go. That is just kind of the beginning or introduction to finding out information given a sample.